Welcome back to the Horror Hub. Let's jump right into the story. It was a dark and stormy night. The wind was howling, and the rain was coming down in sheets. The power had gone out, leaving the small town of Millfield in complete darkness. I was sitting in my living room, surrounded by candles, trying to keep warm. I had always been afraid of storms, but this one was particularly terrifying. As I sat there, I heard a knock on the door. I froze, wondering who could possibly be out in this weather. I hesitated for a moment before slowly making my way to the door. When I opened it, I found a young woman standing there, soaked to the bone and shivering. She was holding a small child in her arms, and had a look of desperation on her face. "Please help me," she said, her voice shaking. "My car broke down and my phone is dead. I don't know what to do." Without hesitation, I invited her and the child in out of the storm. I gave them some blankets and set them up in front of the fire. I could see that the woman was trying to keep her composure, but I could tell she was terrified. The child was crying softly, and I could see that she was trying to comfort him. As I sat with them, I found out that her name was Sarah, and the child was her son, Timmy. They were on their way to visit family when their car broke down. I offered to call a tow truck for her, but she told me that they didn't have any money to pay for it. I knew I couldn't just leave them out in the storm, so I decided to let them stay with me for the night. As the night went on, the storm outside continued to rage. The wind was so strong that I could hear it shaking the windows. I tried to keep the conversation light, but it was clear that Sarah and Timmy were still very scared. I could see the fear in their eyes, and I knew that I needed to do something to make them feel safe. I decided to tell them a story. I told them about a brave knight who went on a quest to save a princess from a dragon. I could see the fear start to fade from their faces as I spoke. Timmy's crying stopped, and he even started to smile. I could see that my story was having the desired effect, and I continued to tell them more stories, until finally they both fell asleep. As I sat there watching them sleep, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I knew that I had done something good. I had helped to ease their fear and make them feel safe. But little did I know, this would not be the end of our story. As the night went on, the storm continued to rage. I woke up in the middle of the night to find that the wind had knocked a tree branch into the window, shattering it. I quickly got up to assess the damage, and to my horror, I saw that Sarah and Timmy were gone. I searched the house frantically, but they were nowhere to be found. I was filled with a sense of dread as I realized that something terrible must have happened to them. I thought about calling the police, but my phone was dead and there was no power to charge it. With no other choice, I set out into the storm to search for them. The wind was so strong that it was difficult to walk, and the rain was coming down in sheets. I searched for hours, but there was no sign of them. Just as I was about to give up hope, I saw a faint light in the distance. I made my way towards it, and as I got closer, I realized that it was coming from a nearby abandoned house. My heart was pounding in my chest as I made my way inside. The house was in shambles, with broken furniture and debris scattered throughout. I searched room by room, calling out Sarah and Timmy's names, but there was no answer. Just as I was about to give up hope, I heard a faint sound coming from the basement. I made my way down the creaky stairs, my heart pounding with fear. When I reached the bottom, I saw Sarah and Timmy huddled in the corner, their faces filled with terror. "What's wrong?" I asked, rushing towards them. "What happened?" "It's him," Sarah said, her voice shaking. "The man from the car. He followed us here." Suddenly, I heard a noise behind me, and I turned to see a man standing at the bottom of the stairs. He was tall and menacing, with a wild look in his eyes. "You should have left us alone," he growled as he lunged towards me. I fought with all my might, but he was much stronger than me. I felt a sharp pain in my side as he plunged a knife into me. I stumbled back, my vision blurring, and then everything went black. When I woke up, I was not in a hospital room. Instead, I found myself in a damp and musty basement. I was lying on a dirty mattress, and my hands and feet were bound. I heard the sound of someone moving nearby, and my heart began to race with fear. I quickly realized that I was a captive, and that the man who had attacked me had not been caught by the police. He had taken me and Sarah and Timmy as his hostages. I struggled against my bindings, but they were too tight. I could hear Sarah and Timmy crying in the distance, and I knew that we were all in grave danger. I spent what felt like hours in that basement, unsure of what would happen to us. My captor never spoke, and I never saw his face. I could only hear his heavy footsteps as he walked around above us. As the days passed, I began to lose hope. I knew that no one was coming to rescue us, and that our fate was in the hands of our captor. I thought about my family and friends and how they must be worried sick about me. I also thought about Sarah and Timmy and how they deserved to be free and safe. But just as I was about to give up hope, I heard a loud commotion coming from upstairs. I could hear the sound of footsteps and voices, and I knew that someone was there to rescue us. I heard the sound of the door being broken down, and then a team of police officers came into the basement. We were finally saved. I found out that one of the neighborhood had noticed that my house was deserted for a couple of days, and had called the police. They had traced the kidnapper's car back to the abandoned house and had been able to rescue us in the nick of time. As I was reunited with my loved ones, I couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. I was relieved and grateful to be alive, but I was also haunted by the memory of my time in captivity. I knew that I would never forget the fear and the helplessness that I had felt while I was held captive, but I also knew that I would never forget the bravery and determination that had helped me survive. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and leave a like. Thanks for watching.